Good afternoon. We'll call to order the Parks Board meeting at 4:32 on April 12th, 2022. This is a follow-up meeting from our March 8th meeting. We do need to approve those minutes. Has anybody had a chance to read them over? And if so, would entertain a motion. First by Lana, second by Shauna. Thank you. Brings us up to the reason we're meeting here again so soon is we wanted to continue our discussions from that meeting on inclusive park upgrades and ADA accessibility and try to come up with some recommendations. So with that, I did send out some information. Hopefully everybody had opportunity to go around to all of our 10 parks and look at them. They do vary quite a bit in what amenities and what things are in those parks. Again, just to kind of recap, we have probably four parks that we would consider more municipal, which would be Lions Club, the City Park, of course, which I always include Woodland in it, the 6th Street, and then the Centennial Park. The others are probably more on the lines of neighborhood parks and probably a little bit smaller and don't have near the equipment or amenities included. So I guess with that, I would turn it over to the board for your discussion on what do you want to talk about as far as one of the outcomes or the deliverables that we were hoping to get out of this meeting was, number one, the city had budgeted some money for what is labeled as ADA improvements. We went over the last meeting what ADA improvements consist of versus what building inclusive parks are. They're two different things. And then once we decide which direction there we want to go, kind of focus down on maybe do we want to do a bunch of smaller projects or do we want to do a bigger project and identify at which parks we think that probably is relevant. So does anybody want to start?
Before we truly get into discussion and our opinions, I wanted to say I reached out to Jessica Davies-Leiden, who was originally, I think, one of the reasons that we are now discussing this. And she would be here if she could, but she's working. She said that if she could have her input heard, that Rose Street Park and what was the other one? Rose Street and Douglas Park is what she called it.
I think she probably Mead Avenue is what she's.
That really, it would make her pleased as punch. That's not her words, but if just the swing so that her kiddo can go to more than one park to be able to swing. And I think anything extra we do above and beyond will be truly appreciated. So
just a little follow up on that. We do have a project that's being engineered right now, our East Main and East Sherman street project, which will make significant improvements at the Rose Street Park. So what we're talking about is getting it fully ADA compatible with the directional ramps, having some parking spaces identified, taking care of all the slopes, things like that. So it's not just as simple as putting in a swing at a park. There's a lot of, and once we do offer those amenities, we have to be fully compliant. So there's just, I guess what I'm saying is we're in the process of making those improvements through the road project that will enable us to put that type of fixture in there much, much easier. So
that's really going to improve change that whole
yes.
look of that park too.
Yes.
It's going to be nice. I think just having parking available.
Yeah. And we have enough room to do it. So we included that on the project. So
that's not something that we necessarily need to consider with this project that we're discussing right now fully.
I think given the money that the council has set aside. I mean, that was money that is intended to be spent and something done this year. That project's probably, that's going to be at least a 2-phase project. So it'll be, 24 before it's completely done. So I don't think that I think that money can probably be spent somewhere else, knowing that, like I said, and this is going to be an ongoing, this ain't like just this year and then we're done making improvements. But I think it wouldn't be prudent to say, yep, we want to put all these equipment in up there and then not have the rest of it done for a year or two.
So knowing that, I read through the minutes from the last meeting because I was not able to attend. And I seem to recall, and I may be misremembering, that there's only one park that's currently completely ADA compliant or accessible. Would that see these?
Not necessarily, and I don't know. I guess I would throw out there, I don't know that we have any parks that are completely 100% ADA. I mean, there's always things you can do. Probably, I'll be honest with you, the closest one that checks all the boxes is probably the new Dolan Creek Park, and then probably 6th Street Park is a close second, and then Woodland Park or the city park is so big. I mean, there's components there that are definitely accessible, but there's a lot of areas that aren't, and some of them cross over. And we talked a little bit, the push now for accessibility and inclusion is the poured in place, like what's at 6th Street and at Dolan Creek. Even though the wood chips are considered ADA compliant, they're probably, you would have a hard time pushing a wheelchair or maneuvering some kind of a walker. Some kids that maybe have leg break. I mean, the whole thing of being inclusive is, excuse me, is that every child or adult, no matter what their physical or their mental abilities are, can participate in side by side. I mean, it even goes above and beyond participating. You don't want to segregate. They need to be able to have those same opportunities side by side. So with that, like I said, I don't know that we have any that are like, I think that's where we're coming from is, hey, what improvements and do we want to take the money that we have and try and do more at a park, or do we want to try and shotgun blast it and do a little bit at several parks?
So I just have a question for when, I sent you a couple of those ideas, and just cost-wise, like for the inclusive merry-go-round.
Sure. So so I can go over that. So we'd talked about a couple of different items. Got my glasses here. And I did reach out and get some prices.
Okay.
Where did I have? Whoops. So the merry-go-rounds like this that are we call these inclusive because they allow for children or adults to sit on the benches. They allow for somebody who is in a wheelchair type vehicle or that can stand there. They're pretty much all inclusive. That particular merry-go-round with the 20 by 20 poured in place surface around it, installed price on that is $33,000. And that wouldn't, if we say, yep, that's something that we're interested in, I guess then we would have to identify where it is and make sure that all of the access ways that lead to it are complete. We wouldn't want to put it somewhere and make it compliant, but then we can't get anybody to it. So
6th Street is where I was wondering if that could fit, like, okay, here's the bathroom. Then it's kind of like we almost have like a little square right here. Mm-hmm. And then here's the play complex. And then there's kind of like a little bit of a bump out. And then here's the sand. I didn't know how big this would be.
So what I would suggest is if we can come to an agreement on picking where we want to see the improvements made, what we would probably do is then go back to the drawing board, look at the areas we have, because everything's going to have a little bit different of a fall zone, and we can go back then and further research that and place it, and then probably come back or even send an email out and say, hey, here's 3 options for this park. Which one do you like? Or maybe you say, I like that part of this one and this, and put it together. But once we identify which park, then it'll be much easier to kind of start putting fixtures in it.
Like when you say the 33, that I guess that would be like my question too. Like, say if we did 33 if we put that at the 6th Street, would the price be a lot different if we put it, say, at the Woodland or?
The only difference is going to be if there's a lot more preparation. So this is the installed price with the port in place. It wouldn't matter where we put it as long as it's apples to apples. I mean, we can't, go in there and say, hey, yeah, we want you to move this hill and put it right there. I mean, we would do that internally anyways. We'd probably get the site prep ready. So we just need to identify a space big enough to hold the component and then have the adequate pathways, accessibility to it.
My other question is, I was just clicking around today and just, some of these, sometimes you see a clearance item, on these, like, I think I sent you a couple, like, how, like, do you ever get a deal, or can you?
So we're getting a deal because we're going through our government purchasing on this.
Okay.
So we are, I mean, that installed price is not the price you, Allison, would be able to go out and get it at.
Gotcha.
We're already using a cooperative purchasing agreement, which has been already bid out. So we're getting a good price on it already. You might pay that for just the fixture alone, and we're getting the install and the port in place. And
Gotcha. So waiting for having a shopping around for the.
And basically the things that we talked about, I guess, with exception, I'll just go through this real quickly. So this swing, which allows for a couple of different, there's one that allows for somebody who has mobility issues that's ridden to a wheelchair, and there's also a swing beside it for other people. That structure itself right there, that one is $37,000 installed. That, for example, needed a 24 by 32 pad around it. Oops, too quick. That's not this swing below it, which is more of a universal. It's a swing, and we actually have one of these at the Centennial. But this is a swing that basically anybody can use of different abilities. That one is $36,000, or no, I'm sorry. That one is $37,000. The one with the wheelchair swing is $53,000.
Just to give you an idea, like the bottom one, that's about the same kind we put in Centennial, but we got a deal on that because they sent us the wrong one and they didn't want to take it back. So it was like, I think we paid like $3,800 for it, which is a heck of a deal, but a lot of this expense is not the equipment, it's that port in place.
Yeah.
It's outrageous. You got to put hard surface, so it's concrete, and it's like $30-some a square foot. So we're paying more for the surface on the bottom more than the top.
So my question with that is, because technically the ADA has to be, well, really the port in place. But if we were gearing, like if we had one full-on ADA, the swing, but if we did the other on the inclusive, in order to get kind of more bang for our buck, could we put like the wood? Like say if we put one of these at the city park is already like a wood bottom, you know what I mean? Could we put a swing, which technically is not ADA, but it's, do you see what I mean? Like if the port and play is so expensive, could we do some of these inclusive pieces with the wood frame, with the wood bottom?
Yeah, most of what we're seeing now is they're really, if we're going to have an outsourced company install it, they're probably not going to install it without the port in place. It's just a requirement. Even like the slide, that's the one that even it has a port in place surfacing around it. That's $36,000. which isn't bad, but probably the bigger cost is going to be where you can get people up to it. I mean, so, you know, like the park down at the main city park, that's a beautiful fixture, but it's got a lot of stairs and things. And with an inclusive park and an ADA park, even though the wood chips may be ADA, you don't have ramps. I mean, that's the new thing is you're going to have ramps and landing pattern, or you're going to have lift assist equipment, things of that nature, to be able to truly use it.
Would, I really love the idea of a slide for kids. This is one of my favorite ideas because I just feel like this is something new I had never seen. I've never seen one of these at any of the parks I've gone to either. But on that picture that I saw, it was on just dirt. You know, it was on dirt in the bottom. So I thought about the city park, but I don't know where.
I think if we did something like that, we'd probably have to look at more of a whole structure because they, you know, instead of just having a slide all by itself is gonna create difficulties in accessibility. But they make, you know, structure similar, you know, probably not to the. Now they make them all different sizes, but what I'm thinking is something similar to the structure up at 6th Street on that kind of that level. Mm-hmm. They make those with the appropriate ramps and that get you up to a deck where then you can slide down and you don't necessarily have to have the topography, you know, have a hill, because that's going to present a challenge too, is getting, when you have a hill, you have terrain to try and make those grades to where they're accessible. So we probably, if that's the direction you want to go, we can research. You know, my guess would be that would probably take care of that entire budget, would be one of those, you know, if we got a smaller structure and put it somewhere that had some of these inclusive. And then when they talk about inclusive, there's other things like with the motor skills that, you know, they have wheels that spin and different things. And they're used for people of varying age. I mean, even elderly people, they're meant for them to be able to engage and find, you know, use their motor skills. And
So Rick, to get the biggest bang for our buck with this project, to me, it's sounding like it would probably be a better idea to focus on one park so that these pieces that we're able to do can go in, and focusing on one park would get us the biggest bang for our buck. Am I hearing that?
I think you'd see the biggest change, and you'd have the best experience at having an inclusive park to do that. You know, if we tried to do, you know, $10,000 at each of the 10 parks, you know, you're not I mean, a lot of that's going to be eaten up in concrete parking spot. I mean, things that we have to have right off the bat before we even start talking about particular playground structures. So
that was what I took from like the last meeting. I was thinking that it probably made, at least in my opinion, like made more sense to focus on one park and spend, you know, the amount of money there, and then maybe the next time we.
So one of the other things that's sort of changed over the last, I don't know how many years, but, you know, you used to build parks for the age that you wanted to. You know, there was a toddler to 3-year-old. These are the play structures they use, from 5 to 7, from 7 to 10. I mean, because they're going to have different interests, and you're not going to have all these climbing activities in a toddler park. Well, they've kind of changed that now, and going to these inclusive parks, they're putting some of these components in all the parks so that you can have a toddler there, and you can have somebody that's 12 years old and on up to the elderly. And again, that they can cohabitate and play and use the same items together. So that would be something to consider as well. Our parks are, with exception, I would say that the main city park, and when I say that, including Woodland, it probably has the widest variation of age appropriate equipment than some of the other smaller parks. Just because, like when we did the 6th Street Park, we had all that equipment and it was for a certain age range. And so we put it all together. So we wouldn't probably, want to try and pick a piece of playground equipment then that doesn't really fit in there, that is not age appropriate. But like I said, the main park probably has the widest variant.
Can we pull up the park maps again?
Sure.
I think you also mentioned that Centennial Park by McDonald's is one of the top 3.
It is.
To me, it seemed like there wasn't a ton of equipment at all.
No, I would agree with you.
Yeah.
It is.
And for the top 3, I guess I was struck by that, thinking that that's one of the most visited with the least amount of.
It's, Cody and his guys have done a nice job over the
It's
past
cleaned up
4 or 5.
nice,
Yeah,
yes.
but I agree. I don't.
No more tourists there. They just all stop at McDonald's.
I think because of the McDonald's, but there's people there all the time. Yeah.
People park there and walk through there, and it gets used a lot. You're right. There's a merry-go-round. There's that new
Swing.
The orb swing.
slide and some swings. That's it.
Did you have a chance to reach out to Kelly to see if he might be interested in helping out if we would choose a piece of equipment for that?
I haven't yet. No.
Oh,
I mean, until we decide that we're going to do something there, I think maybe a little premature.
Another question I was wondering was, which parks is there room to even add things to? Are there parks that are, because like Dolan Creek, there's no place to add anything.
Yeah,
there,
Dolan
right?
Creek's pretty well built out. Starline, I would say the neighborhood parks, because they are smaller, are probably going to be more difficult,
So it
with
would
the
be-
exception of Mead Avenue. First Avenue's fairly open. Rose is open, and some of these, Dolan Creek's probably. I mean, that's all new equipment. I was going to say we could look at trading out equipment too, because some of it does get phased out. But
Yeah, that's new.
again, I think if you guys pick where you want it, then we can kind of try and come up with some ideas and some plans. And I would say Dolan Creek is probably and Starline are probably the only 2 that we just simply, I think it would be hard to do anything with. I mean, they're pretty tight.
And there's already some plans for Rose Street.
The sidewalks and parking and curb cuts. I think that we want to get that done. I mean, there's plenty of property there. There's a big vacant field there, so that one can be expanded. I don't know if we're going to try and use this money this year, if that makes much sense.
And then the busiest parks were 6th Street, the City Park, and Centennial.
Yeah, I would say so. Yep.
When was the last time the main City Park received anything new down there?
I mean, we fixed what's there, and of course we had chips and general maintenance. But any new equipment, we put one 3 years ago.
Extra merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Storage for 15 years. Was brand new. Was put in there. That's the last time.
Oh, in the tree.
Yeah.
What from y'all's experience, because we're coming on, most of us, I think anyways, I can speak for myself, without that knowledge base of our parks, like the full picture of how things would need to go in, and what would make the most sense. What would be a recommendation by Rick or you about like where it would make sense to be able to put in some of these awesome inclusive things where they would be able to go in like this year and make the biggest impact for us in what we're able to do this year?
I would say probably the city park, the main park. We have the most area. We have the most sidewalks, bike path, parking.
There, you could add pods. We're going to put that as a sidewalk. There'd be a sidewalk to that. We put a new pod in. You don't have to put new sidewalks in if it's already there, and you can branch off more.
The other thing we got to think about too when we talk about being inclusive is also facilities, which the main park is one. 6th Street does have facilities. Centennial does not. But those are probably the only two parks really that have facilities, as far as bathrooms and, right.
The city park, I was really, I mean, and obviously there was nothing we could do about it, but how the trees being gone really make it kind of look kind of awkward, like open spacey, like it feels like there's something missing. And maybe it's just because I always visualize, that great big tree that was right in the middle there, but like if there's a way that we could fill that.
It's just winter time, Allison. They'll come back when the leaves go.
You know what I'm talking about, that great big tree.
There's probably I would say there's probably more trees down there than we really should have. I mean, as far as being close together. Yeah.
Just in the
Middle.
where
In the middle.
I think we put the merry-go-round.
I've heard a lot of comments.
The winter.
Since I've started, I've tried to cut anything at 6 foot or below is gone because these trees fill everything out, and the kids take off running. Where's my kid? You can't.
Yeah.
There's trees everywhere. They hold garbage, and that's where the homeless people leave their stuff. And so, my whole deal in mowing everything, anything below 6 feet's gone. And so it's opened everything up so you can see more. The grass is green, so you get sunlight. I mean, I think it's cleaned up myself. And but you're right, we did lose that one big one, which only lost one there, I guess.
Yeah, that fell on the playground equipment.
Yeah.
But that would be a great spot to then replace it with
This stuff.
with some playground equipment. I mean,
And I guess my whole thing about the whole inclusivity is I do love the swings at the city park. And, like per our conversation, it probably can't be ADA. But I think I was wondering if we could squeeze one of those or put it at the end or on either side, an inclusive swing, one of the ones that we were talking about. It won't be ADA because it won't have the rubber bottom, but I think that'd be a great deal, a great way. Because
sure.
I
To
want,
truly make it inclusive at that point, because
Yeah.
then they're swinging by other kids who
yeah,
are swinging.
I mean, like
see
full
that.
disclosure, I really like it. I really want, my personal focus is that I want all the kids playing together. And I think that is my main focus of anything that we put in, that I want to make sure that the other kids are, playing alongside each other. Because again, like I have a young child and spend a lot of time in the parks and I've, lived at different places. I hate it when the inclusive or the ADA equipment is kind of to the side,
Separated.
or the kids just naturally segregate themselves out. And I just really don't want that. So I was just thinking about, yes, it won't be ADA, but if we can get a swing down there, that would, and it sounds like it might be not that expensive if we don't put the rubber bottom in there.
Well, I think that like I said, if we hire a company to do it, we're going to have to put the rubber bottom in. I mean, I don't think that's an option.
Could you put it in there at the city park then?
Yeah.
This, we kind of separate them out in a way, but the Woodland Park is actually an excellent. It's close
And that's
to
nice too.
facilities, and the sidewalk surrounds it.
Yeah.
It's flat.
And actually, they do make some swings like, we can pop 2 hooks off, you open them up, you can buy one of those things that hooks on the existing frame and put it in there. I mean, I think last time I looked, it was $800 for one of those swings. Hook it in there, do it and stuff.
Oh, she's talking about a different one, Cody.
But I mean, it's fun you can place. Yeah,
Well, and that I think would be fine too. It's just having it so that it is together.
Yeah, I just don't want the kids swinging separately.
But is there a reason that we can't, if we put in the ADA swing structure what's the reason that we can't have a port service, or is there?
There's not. We would have that.
So it could be like,
We could have a combination of poured in place and engineered wood chips. I mean, that's not. We would, and I think anywhere right now, all of our parks have, for the most part, except for, even 6th Street has some wood chips. So, we can have a combination. It's just not, like I said, they actually do, the engineered wood chips are ADA compliant, technically.
Well, I just think it's still like the wood chips still kind of match the feel or whatever. I don't know. It's just, I just would like the kids playing together. That's my spiel. And so.
No, I think
don't
that's the goal.
Swings, if you think about it, I guess like nostalgic wise, the vast majority of us have swung on those
The,
swings.
the only caveat to that is not designing an entire park. We're going to have to work around what existing stuff. And again, each of the existing play structures we have has a certain fall or safe zone. So we have to be a certain distance from what we currently have. So anything new that we put in, no matter what it is going to be on the perimeter. I mean, we're not going to be able to, I don't think we have a park where we can go right in the middle and put another piece of equipment because they're spaced out for a reason.
And this is just
Talking
phase
about on
one
the
of
swing
all
in the
this,
back, You
so.
could put it on the side.
We could take a look. We could probably do that,
And this is truly just phase one of
Yes.
these upgrades. So even if it's a little separate right now, in the future as we add and create and
It may end up being
discover
in the middle.
Exactly.
Where could we put one of these merry-go-rounds? Which park you think?
You guys choose what park and we'll
Well, I mean,
see
like-
how we can put it in. I mean,
Like engineers-wise, what would you?
I think we can do it in any of them.
City Park is kind of where it has the most options to be able to add in different pieces that we would be able to.
City Park by far, and that's why it's our main city park, it has the most amenities as far as parking, paths. I mean, we have the bike path, we have several paths, we have shelters, we have bathrooms. Yeah, it's got lights. It's by far going to have the most amenities. And that's probably, even with our 6th Street Park, that's probably the downside to it is even like parking. I mean, really, you got to park on the other side of the tennis courts, and then you still, if you were in a wheelchair, you would still have to come down all the sidewalks to get to it. It's not like right there. The city park is probably going to provide the most like dedicated parking and then a path to it where it's the closest. Centennial Park, that's the struggle there is there's not a lot of good parking there, other than if you're parked in McDonald's parking lot.
I think I would make a motion to have City Park and Woodland Park combined to be explored with different options of what could go in those areas and have that reported back. Do we have a second?
Perfect.
Any other discussion on that? Anybody else have?
I have another question, I guess.
Sure.
What about a swing at the Mead Avenue Park? So here's a swing and putting it on the right-hand side next to the fence.
The worst part about the Mead Avenue Park is we don't have any hard surface. I mean, there's nothing really there.
Yeah.
We looked at that, what it would take, as far as trying to put in a dedicated parking spot and then some sidewalks.
Because there is the difference between the.
I mean, we could do it. It just, that would take a lot of what's budgeted to do it.
Well, so there is the difference between the ADA and the inclusive. So we're not doing the inclusive. We're doing straight ADA then.
That which is all the hard surfacing.
Because I think that's one of, you talked about Jessica, you brought her up, but that was one of her, presentations, and the fact that there was that difference that if you didn't have these other things, that you could have the swing and, whatnot, and you didn't need the everything else. But the city wants to just go straight ADA.
No, that's what we've asked you guys. What do you want to do? Strictly ADA upgrade? ADA upgrades are going to be sidewalks, parking spots, ramps. I mean, they're going to be hardcrete for the most part. They're going to be hard surfaces, accessibility, having the appropriate width, having the right grade, the right cross slope. Inclusive is going to be everybody can play together on the same playground and the same structures, which doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have some of those components to get you there, but they're kind of two different. ADA accessibility is truly that. Accessibility is access. The inclusive is having everybody at any given age and
Could I amend my motion?
sure.
I would like to amend my motion to include looking into adding just a swing, such as what was shared as a possibility to remove the swings that you can put in place of a different existing, so adding the inclusive swing to an existing swing set at Mead or Rose Street, either. I don't know if that's
I'll look
possible with
into it.
what
I
is
don't know that
existing.
that's possible. When I talked to the guy, he told us we could not do that. So I'll look into it and report back to you. But I was told if you have that swing, you have to have the frame that go. Otherwise, they're not going to warranty it. They're not going to.
Okay.
There's some
And
liability issues.
and that's the thing.
You can't just take a wooden frame swing set and call it ADA compliant. So
Well, and with the Mead one, since it's so old, I just,
yeah, right.
I do think that, and maybe it's because I lived over there too, but that park gets a lot too, and they really like the swings, and I hate the existing swing chairs, but, I would just vote for more inclusive. I want the ADA swing, the full-on ADA swing, but I would like to see that at Rose, and it sounds like,
That's in the future.
yeah, I mean,
In the works
and
already.
it doesn't make sense to put that in before we do all the sidewalk, and that's gonna just completely change that whole park and look.
Oh, it's going to change the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, it'll look great, but I would push more for this inclusive, whatever we can get as inclusive. I want a lot of, you know what I mean? Because there's so many advances that are being made with, wheelchairs and mobility devices and whatnot. I feel like that adaptation has really come forward, especially like the last 5 years, that maybe maybe our focus can be on the actual playground equipment and making sure that everyone can play together and putting our money into more of the inclusive playground.
So how about if we take a look at the main city park and the Woodland Park, and then the Mead Avenue Park, and then we'll come back with some costs
Yeah.
and some options, and then I can tell you right now you're not gonna be able to do all of them, but then you can choose. Do we want to do? Mead Avenue is going to be fairly expensive because of all the concrete that needs to be done.
If
But
you
we can
have-
get that price and we can look at it. And
Well, and I don't even know if there's space. I'm just curious.
we looked at it. There's I think we can come up with the space there. But then you guys have it as an option.
Okay.
Just so we know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Then I would
I'm a shopper. I want to know all the prices.
I would amend.
Inclusive, because you're in that industry, the technology's
Yeah.
changed.
Yeah.
So let's,
Yeah, I just see so many adaptive devices, and like my sister's OT, and we see a ton of it, at work and stuff. There's so much progress being made on that end, advances in wheelchairs and
Right.
whatnot.
I think you're gonna get more for your return on investment with the inclusive stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. And I just really want the kids, just that focus to be included.
I would think, I guess as far as I feel like that is definitely what we're going for.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this, I think.
I
So.
just hate to see it. And I'm not saying, but I just hate to see all the money go to curb and gutter when we're building wheelchairs that can literally go four-wheel, and then
Some of that though we don't have a say in. We have to do it. It's a requirement in order for us to continue to have our federal and state eligibility. Just like when we go out and we get these ARPA funds and things where we're able to go out and get $2 million worth of grant money for our wastewater treatment facility. If we're not compliant, we're not eligible for those. So there's certain things that I agree with you that
Would be much simpler
right,
sometimes,
but
but
we,
it's
but we
just
don't
not,
have a choice.
not legal.
So, but we'll take a look at those three. Is there any particular?
I have a question.
Sure.
When you talk about ramps, now when I went to the different parks, all of the swing areas specifically have the wood border around them. Would the ramp include allowing a wheelchair to get?
They make a ramp that even with the wood and actually with the wood chips, you have to have that ramp that goes into that play area off of the sidewalk.
I kind of go along with that because everything has a border.
Those are fairly. I looked at those. Those are not a huge expense. They're a couple $100 each. Yeah. Yeah. So those would be things we'd look at. And is there any particular playground equipment that you're more? Swings, merry-go-rounds versus slides versus.
Well, I personally would just love the idea of having the wheelchair accessible slide. You know, like that one that you had it 3 ways, and I wonder if they had like a hard surface. I don't know, but it might be cost prohibitive, but that's just something super unique that I haven't seen. But you know, I love the merry-go-round with the wheelchair.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Yeah. I again, like I don't know, I'm a shopper. So I was just wondering, like, even if we like the wheelchair, do they have a couple different options within that?
Of the merry-go-round? I haven't, I mean, there's different colors and kind of, but they're pretty much, that's what it is. I haven't seen a lot of like, wow, that's unique. I mean, it's,
Because we're shopping from one company.
no, I've looked at, we shop from 4 or 5 different companies and they each have their own version of it, but there's not a lot of difference in it other than maybe colors and the metal's bent a little different, but it's basically the same merry-go-round. I mean, I don't know how you're going to make a merry-go-round a whole lot different.
Yeah.
I think I would like to see some sensory options.
That's a good idea.
Doesn't have to be super fancy, just something that allows for a different sensory experience for kiddos.
There was some neat little ones in here that, yeah, the sensory, it was actually kind of something, and I don't know, I was kind of surprised that this would be like, okay. They had these sensory summit climbers, and so you're going to use your balance, you're going to have to grab, and then they have sensory stuff on the side as you're looking, and so then also if you're in a wheelchair, you can go up and you can touch at the same time. But they don't have prices on these ones, because this is like the picture of it. Then you climb on the side. I don't know what that costs though. And then it looks like they have some that they're floor level and you crawl up to, but I don't know what they cost.
Well, we can take a look and put, like I said, we'll come up with 3 or 4 different ideas and with costs and maybe you'll like 1 or 2. I mean,
Yeah,
once
see-
we have them priced out, we can kind of, if you say, well, we like this component of this plan and these 2 feet, I mean, then we can pull them out and have a pretty good idea what the cost is going to be.
I think that I don't know what you call it, what I showed you earlier, it's like a 4-person. I think I would like to see what something like that is. Like, I think the one I showed you was part of another structure, but I saw one that was separate.
They have some freestanding,
So-
yeah. I know what you're talking about, yeah.
I feel like that would be a way to, I mean, because wheelchair-bound people
So
could
usually
be
they
in
have
it,
a spot
and
for
it
a
could-
wheelchair and then they have a
yeah.
bench across from it and the whole
And then
thing.
there was kids, on one of them, there was kids that could hang on the outside also, so I feel like,
The downside to those is the movement's not much at all.
It's
right,
not.
So
yeah.
kids get pretty bored with it pretty quick.
Yeah, that,
Because it just,
They have that.
Gotcha.
They had one in Pittsburgh and one in Brook. And in full disclosure, it's my least favorite piece of equipment.
it just doesn't do a lot. I mean, it rocks back and forth.
The kids, who could walk, came on and were on there for 2 seconds, and then honestly, a child, utilizing a wheelchair would come on and they'd be excited, and the kids were there, and then
Then they're gone.
kids would go for 2 seconds, and then here's the other child just left alone, and just it always, yeah.
I mean, I've never seen one in person, so
Yeah, it's
if
okay.
that's not a great idea, you can.
It's like a
They're
can
they're
not
they're.
look at it,
I mean,
it's fine.
but the kids do get bored with them very quick
That makes sense,
because they don't have much of a range of motion. I mean,
right?
they're pretty small. Even the back and forth
Yeah.
range is not very big on those.
Right.
They're kind of like a front porch swing. I mean, that's about the motion you get.
So Legacy Commons in Rapid has a merry-go-round. It's not like the one that you showed us earlier where the wheelchair can go directly on it, but it's one that is open where you could sit a child into it. And it's built up so they're in it, so there's no worry about them like
It's not
flying
a
off.
zero entry, right?
I think something like that would be cool to
What,
look
what
at
was that?
too.
Where was that at?
It's at Legacy Commons. You know, that the park that's by the Civic Center, and there's like 4 or 5 different areas to
Yep.
it. It's kind of in the middle
Okay.
section.
I think it's called the,
It's similar to this, but it doesn't have it in internal steering to get it. It's not propelled by the people on it. It's still pushed by the people on the outside, but it's like a little bowl that they sit in, and
Right.
there's seats.
I think
So
Lead might have one too.
I think they do at that park by the.
But yeah, I really like that one too, and it's pretty quick. And I have seen
my
seen
kids love
parents-
it.
Yeah, and I have seen parents with younger children pick up the child and put that in because it pushes you back, and so if you don't have any core strength, but I wondered if it would fall under the inclusive category. I don't know.
I think it probably would.
We can take a look at it.
Yeah. So I don't know. Swings, merry-go-round, and sensory, and I don't know, slide if we could afford it.
Do we need to do like an official vote on that or anything?
I don't think at this,
We're just
there's nothing
talking.
really to vote on. I
Okay,
mean, we're
good
just,
deal.
we're just having, tonight was mainly just discussion to give us some direction to be able to bring back what, I mean, like I said, now that we have identified a couple of parks, we can take a more in-depth look at them and try and now pick out some components
on
that
that.
fit and
Okay.
prices and if we need to do any upgrades to the pathways, and we'll look at, like I said, we'll figure everything out from the ramps going in and
And this would be, I suppose, ADA or inclusive or whatever. I think I told you about the one that they have the halter and it's a zip line.
Oh yeah, I saw that. That
And
looks pretty
it's
cool.
a lot of fun, but I was just curious.
we want a
if you
big
guys-
people zip line first.
I do too. But I
that
just
can
thought
happen with
that'd
the
be
lakeside
pretty
eventually.
cool.
Right.
But I don't know what kind of cost.
I don't, some of those we'd have to look at, and I'd have to visit with Lisa. When we start getting like zip, I mean, especially when they're unattended, I don't know what the city's liability becomes. I'm not sure that we can have a zip line unattended down the city park. I think our insurance will go, but we can look at it. I mean,
It was really neat. It was like the inclusive swing seat, and you strap in. So it looked cool.
It's super fun. It's super fun.
That-
I don't know. Yeah. And I don't know. That'd be cool. But I know we're supposed to meet quarterly or whatever, but would anybody want to meet, like, I don't know, in a couple weeks or whatever, just so
So we can talk
I
about
don't.
this stuff.
Rick is like,
I need more than a couple of weeks to put all this together, guys.
Rick's like,
I have a lot of other things on my plate as well, and it's not solely parks. So it will take us a little bit to put all this together. Plus, we're getting ready to go into a busy, getting all our parks opened, and but
so
I think what we could do is give us a little bit of time to put this together, and then we can email it out. And then once everybody starts to kind of get comfortable with what we have and that we're going in the right direction, maybe at that point in time we can schedule another meeting. Maybe it'll be 60 days from now, 30 days, 45, I don't know. I'll have to reach out to these guys, and I know we've got actually the first week of May they're going to be out here to fix the Dolan Creek Park. They got that storm damage. So we'll have some people out here and we'll have them go look with us because they're going to want to come out and look and in order to give us a bid.
Get a twofer.
oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So,
They're gonna be here in May?
huh?
You say May? They're gonna be here?
I don't, somewhere
In there, okay.
as quick as I can.
Cool. Yeah, that'd just be cool. Then we can do some shopping.
We can do that.
Alrighty.
Anything else? You guys all had a chance to visit our 10 beautiful parks. Is there anything else that caught your fancy or?
Well, and this isn't like a negative or, well, it's a little bit, but, and I love it. But so the 6th Street Park, and I love that it's got the cover or whatever. And I love that it's not rained on, but at the same time, just Mother Nature seems to clean, you know? And so then on the 6th Street Park, you get those black marks on the playground equipment, and that one seems a little bit dirtier because obviously it doesn't get rained on. So I didn't know, just like whatever other park, you know, moving forward, is there what, like do you go down there with like a magic eraser or like
No,
what?
we power wash and disinfect those.
Power wash will take, once it gets nice, we have a little fire truck. Have this magic clean stuff, we'll scrub it and we'll.
Yeah, and then they do, you know, somebody is assigned that park every day to check it, but we don't clean every single fixture every day, but
Oh,
but
come on. Why not?
monthly we do clean it because that poured in place even has to be cleaned.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and so with the poured in place, because that's where the black marks come from, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And so I didn't know if when we pick the next pour in place, I don't know. Do you seem to notice like a different, like even the pour in place product, like this one doesn't scuff as much or this color doesn't scuff as much? Have you
Oh,
noticed
I
any
don't
difference?
know that it's from the poured in place. It's got to be from their shoes.
Shoes.
Timing will have
Yeah.
those marks on it. I think just people's hands, oil in their hands.
Yeah.
That's where all the marks, that's where I notice the most marks. That's what they clean all the time.
Yeah, that does have a lot, but yeah, I just noticed
I've never seen the poured in place. I mean,
the stuff.
scuffing. I mean,
Really?
no matter what color you would choose, it's just
So it's
Ground
not, I just wondered.
That
if
stuff's
that-
kind of designed to not.
So it just must be people's shoes, huh?
I would say so.
I thought they looked very nice, all the signs, everything looked very nice.
We've tried
Appreciate all the
to
work you guys do.
coordinate and make them uniform, and so
I
the guys
truly
do a good
appreciate the
job.
Willow Park
Yeah.
because that's in my neighborhood. So.
Use a new shelter in the little park.
My kids have. I can just send them over there to play, and
Well, that
they
made
have
a
good
huge
time.
difference putting the fence up.
Oh yes, it did.
It also stops somebody's dogs from.
Uh huh. That's exactly.
I was informed of that.
That actually turned into a really nice little
It
park.
is. It looks very nice.
So,
Yeah. I think the cover on the Mead Avenue Park too, on the, you have the picnic table underneath.
I think just about. I think we're getting really Rose. We don't. We'll have a.
Yeah. That
Put,
tree's
every
gonna stay
park
there,
just
right?
about has some kind of a shelter.
On the Rose Street Park? Yeah. Do you think it'll stay? Yeah,
On the corner,
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. It depends on where we end up putting the parking. I mean, it may.
Yeah, because I was wondering, like, because the alley's right there. I didn't know if you do the alley and then do the parking right there. I kind of wondered what you were going to do.
We can. I mean, we haven't really. Nothing's in concrete yet because they're still designing it, but
Really?
they'll look at it. As far as just the cross slopes and the slopes and
Yeah,
where it can be.
yeah. It'll make it look totally different.
And that one will be off street somewhere because there's a difference in we have van accessible parking and just regular handicap parking. I mean, they're different size requirements and
Yeah, I just kind of thought if they did the alley, and then you have the parking, and then you could almost do like a whole, like inclusive, thing right off.
we
that.
add a lot of cost in concrete when we start going into the alley because it's
Yeah.
that's all be hard surfaced.
Yeah. Oh, so you'd have to pave the alley too?
Well, we'd have to from the parking and getting them being then from their vehicle around is all good. It would have to be hard surfaced, yeah.
So, you'd
So
have to
not
go
necessarily
around.
the whole alley, but a portion of it.
Yeah.
It goes back to not being as easy as just putting in these things.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of parts and pieces that got to come together that you normally don't necessarily think about, but yeah. Well, good. I think we got some good direction to go on, and that's what we wanted to accomplish, and we're right at an hour, and we try and hold our meetings to an hour. So
Well, I move to adjourn.
good job, guys, and at 5:26, then we'll adjourn.